Hey, thank you for having me for lunch today. This is Lunch with Laura. I'm just going to adjust this just a little bit. I'm sorry. I've had a little bit of trouble getting on live today. Okay, there we go. Thank you for having me for lunch. This is Lunch with Laura, and today we're going to be talking about money, finances. I know, all the stuff that's not fun to talk about, but we need to talk about it because it's important that we do the things that we need to do to get back up on our feet. So today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to get on your feet financially after your breakup. And so one of the major important things to remember is, the financial decisions that you make, when you split from your husband is crucial, even if it's during your divorce or after your divorce. But say that you're still in the divorce process, right? And, you're deciding how to, divide assets and debts. That's important. Sometimes you may want to take a little bit more of the retirement account as opposed to, liquidating some other assets and taking the cash. It all depends on what your situation is. And obviously, you talk to your lawyer about that, or you talk to the person that may be helping you, like the person who does your taxes, different people that you can ask, or even you can just, a lot of times, just call, places like, H&R Block and just say, hey, I have a general question. What's the best thing to do in this situation? A lot of times they're so helpful. That's a good resource to go to, okay? And also, too, it's sometimes if you're still in divorce, it's all about choosing your battles. I have seen over and over again, on both sides, whether it's, the husband or the wife, they fight for something on principle. And then when all the dust settles, they realize they spent more money than what they were fighting for was worth. So just be careful, because you don't want accumulate debt moving forward, fighting over things on principle, and you turn around and you've really lost the battle because you're out so much money that you're going to have to pay over months and maybe sometimes even years. So please keep those things in mind, okay? And also, too, the decisions that you make, after the divorce is over, and how you're going to start over, and how you're going to treat your finances, and how you view your financial situation now is really, really important. Okay, so here are the 5 ways to get back on financial solid ground. Okay, number 1 is accept that your financial world has changed, and that just feeds into what I was saying a second ago. Sometimes people continue to spend as if they're still married and living on a combined income with their ex. And that is just a recipe for disaster. And I know sometimes, people do that as a comfort measure, or sometimes, you've heard the term retail therapy. And so, it's really just a means of coping with all the change. You're trying to comfort yourself. It's almost like, eating food or overeating. Some people spend money as a way to comfort themselves because they feel that there's so much upset and change in their lives that they're having a hard time adjusting to it. And I understand that. We're all human. I totally understand that. But it's really something that can get you into financial trouble. So you really want to guard against that and be very, very careful. This also, another part of that is some people spend money as a sense of panic. They feel like they're afraid that they won't have enough, they won't be able to provide for their needs. They start feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't do it on my own. So they start stockpiling food and clothing. I mean, I know of relatives who stockpile food so much in their pantry that they open up the pantry door and stuff starts falling out. They have stuff in the back of their pantry that spoils before they can ever possibly eat it. They have stuff in their freezer that's spoiled. Even though it's frozen, it's been in there for like a year and a half because they can't even get to it because the freezer is so packed. It's those things because they're panicking, they're afraid, they're operating out of fear because they feel like they won't have enough to be able to meet their basic needs of food and clothing. I have a relative whose closet is so filled with clothing from discount stores and other places, stuff that's had the tags on them for years. And, it's like they can't even find what they're looking for because there's just so much stuff to wade through. And it's almost like, are you opening a consignment shop? Or are you just looking for stuff to wear, okay? You only have one body, and it's only 7 days a week, okay? So, you just have to be mindful of that. That, you may be doing these things to comfort yourself, or if you're in a panic. And, if there's people that, you need to talk to somebody about that, don't be embarrassed or ashamed to do that because it really will help you to get on your financial feet a lot quicker. Okay. Okay, the number two is, oh, sorry. So the faster that you accept what your financial world looks like now, it is, you know, it will just, you just be better off adjusting to your new life. Okay. So number two is set up a personal budget. And I know that sounds really basic, but it really is something that I'm kind of pounding home about because a lot of people just avoid it. And, if they start off doing it early, then they can avoid a whole lot of nonsense, a lot of financial heartache and worry and all those things. And so, it's really the only way to stay on track into getting your finances back in order. I know it's a pain in the butt to set up, but usually you've already gotten a long way down the road because a lot of times during your divorce, you have to list all of your debts and assets anyway. So use that information, plug it into a spreadsheet that you create on your own, or plug it into one of those free financial budget apps that you find online. Those are great. Or sometimes too, I know my app, my Mac computer, my Apple computer, it comes with a template for budgets that is in Keynote, which is the equivalent to, I'm sorry, not Keynote, it's in Numbers, which is equivalent to Excel spreadsheet. And it's really wonderful because you just plug in the numbers and it calculates the formulas for you and it creates all these charts and stuff. So see what's already on your computer. You might already have software on there that you just plug in these numbers and it calculates everything and you'll be able to track your expenses, your income, and really start to set goals. That is a wonderful way to really kind of get your finances in order and really get a hold of your spending. You see where you need to cut back. See where, these are simple things. They estimate that the average American spends about $14 a week at coffee houses like Starbucks and other places. So, and that's just getting coffee. Now, if you go there and actually eat, in addition to buying coffee there, it's a lot more than that because, usually the sandwiches are, were $5 or more. And even if you even get that little parfait thing, it's like $3, maybe even almost $4. So, it adds up. So you'll be surprised even the little things that you can cut out that really go a long way. And so set up a personal budget. Number three, get support from family and friends. And some people look at me like, are you kidding me? Yeah, obviously not every family member is going to be on board and supportive and, going to have the pom-poms in their hands cheering you on, being your biggest cheerleader, because there are some family members that, sometimes you just have that cousin you don't always get along with, right? But, there are those, 2 or 3 family members who really know what's going on in your life, who are really plugged in, who are really supportive and loving. And I hope that you have those people. If you don't actually have those people as actually actual family members, a lot of times there are hopefully maybe 1 or 2 friends that you can call upon that, again, know what's going on, that can really support you. Like say, for example, you were always the person who, when you were married, you were always the person who planned and, did the whole spread for birthdays and going out for anniversaries and kids' birthdays and all that. And you were always the one that always go above and beyond spending, getting great gifts for them and all those things when you were married. Well, you may not be able to do that anymore. 9 times out of 10, you won't be able to do that anymore. So you just talk to your friends and, pull them aside and say, hey, I know I was always the one who was really the connector in the group and, figured out, what we were going to do and what the budget was going to be. And I was always doing all these great things, but doesn't mean that I love you any less. It just means that I can't do these things right now. And it doesn't mean it's forever. It just means right now I've got a goal and I want to pay off, this amount of debt in the next 18 months. Or I want to do, I want to work towards, I'm going to need a new car in about another year and a half. So I need to start saving up for that. So I can't do those things that I used to do before. Those are the important conversations that you can have with family and friends just to let them know. And you will be surprised how they will, help to keep you accountable and help you to not to spend too much and help you to encourage you to feel better and not feel ashamed or embarrassed about what you're going through. But in other words, flip it and turn around and they will be like, yeah, I know that you're sacrificing and you're so brave and you're doing this and, we love you and we're cheering you on. And you might even inspire them to start a budget and go ahead and help them to be better managers of their money. So you just be surprised how you touch people and how you will do that. And even with your kids, sometimes it's a challenge. Kids are used to, just getting and be able to spend like they did, sometimes when they were married. And sometimes if you sit kids down and talk to them in kind of an age-appropriate way, to say, this is what, mommy needs to do, and we need to stick to this. So when we go to the grocery store, or when we're going to the mall, we're only going to get this, that, and the other thing, and we can't just spend money on toys and just things that you want randomly anymore. Sometimes you may get a little bit pushback depending on how old they are, but you'd be surprised how even your kids will rally around. Even if you give them like simple projects, you give them like that thermometer, thing, and have them color in, every time that you hit a milestone. Say, for example, you were able to save, $30 this month. Have them color it up to the $30 mark, and that's something that they can do for the little project. You'll be surprised, even just including them in that way, depending, again, how old they are. If they're 5, 6, 7, they can do stuff like that. They may not understand all the dynamics, but they understand that they're helping mommy, and they will just be like, yay, we can do it when they start to see the results. Number 4 is learn to live on one income. And I know, just adjusting your lifestyle to fit what you have to work with now, that's not defeat. It really isn't. It is being brave and just going for it and facing it head on. And, it can feel very limiting. Sometimes you feel like you have on handcuffs. But once you make that shift and you really start to, again, see the results, and a lot of times, too, like, for example, what Dave Ramsey suggests is that you start to pay off the smaller things first so that you can get a sense of accomplishment. And so that's really just the best thing that you can do, is to start to, pay off the smaller things so you really feel that sense of progress and accomplishment. So that's one of the things that I really would suggest that you do. And Dave Ramsey also says, sometimes you have to live like no other right now, so that you can live like no other later on. So that just means sometimes you really have to bear down and sacrifice at first. But later on, when you're able to get that car, your friends are like, oh, how did you manage to save up for that? You're like, yeah, it's when I was suffering, a year and a half ago. But now, I really saved up, scraped up enough pennies, and I'm able to do this, that, and the other thing right now. So it's really, really worth the sacrifice. Okay, and number 5 is the clincher, okay? Number 5 is dream big. What do I mean by that? I know when things look like, your circumstances are never going to change, you feel it's really hard to dream about your future. It's really hard to try to envision setting aside goals and reaching those goals and what it feels like to actually get there. But I say it's the best time to reinvent yourself. It is the best time to set goals, because everything is up for grabs anyway. You're reestablishing a new normal anyway. Now is really the best time for you to do that. So dream about the desires that are on your heart. Marilyn Monroe once said, sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together. And she was so right. So use your dreams and goals as your anchor when you feel like there's nothing else to grasp onto. That's something to anchor your hope in. That's something to, just hold on to. Dream about, if you dream about starting your own business or being totally debt-free in 3 years, or whatever your goals are, always choose hope over fear and unbelief, okay? So let me just recap really quick. The 5 things that you can do is, number 1, accept that your financial world has changed. Number 2 is set up a personal budget. Number 3 is get support from family and friends. Number 4 is learn how to live on one income. And number 5 is dream big. So I hope that you found this video helpful. Thank you for spending a little bit of your lunchtime with me. There's more information on my Facebook page. My blog that came out today also talks about the 5 ways to get yourself back on your feet financially. And also just check out my website if you want more information at www.howtomoveonafterdivorce.com. If you have comments, leave comments in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Even if it's not about this video, if it's about other topics that you want for me to talk about or teach on, I would love to hear about what you want to hear about. I'm here to serve you and to serve this community. I have almost 17,000 people who are following me on Facebook, and so I want to give you information and content that is important to you. So it's good for me to hear from you, okay? Have a great rest of your Monday. Take care, and be awesome and fierce today. Bye.